If we get this question wrong, it could lead to decades of pain. The problem is, doctors, physios, whoever you're seeing, they're not even asking it. And that question is, what type of pain do you have? Now, I'm going to break down exactly what that means, the 4 types of pain that we can experience, and why getting this wrong is why so many people end up stuck in chronic pain. So let's dive straight into it. There are ultimately 4 reasons that we can experience pain. The first is medical pain. Pain that's being caused by a medical condition, an illness, an autoimmune condition, something like endometriosis, something like a heart attack causing chest pain, or an appendix about to rupture causing abdominal pain would fall into this category. These are tested by doctors running blood tests or any other tests that they may need to identify, do you have an illness? The second type of pain that we can experience is pain from damage. Pain that's typically caused by an injury, and where we can see the result on an X-ray, an MRI, and this is typically what surgeons are looking for. They're trying to identify, is there something structurally damaged that they need to go in and fix? This is the pain that most of us automatically think about when we think about injuries and, hurting ourselves. The third type of pain that we can experience is mechanical pain. This is pain that's coming from our physical body, but where we haven't actually damaged the tissue. We've simply asked the body to do something that it's not prepared to do, something it's not used to doing. And a great example of this is trying to build some flat pack IKEA furniture and spending a few hours in an uncomfortable, awkward position. You've not damaged the body, but at the end of that activity, you'd feel some pain, some discomfort. And it's simply because you've asked your body to do something that it's not really that used to doing. Now, there are 2 similarities that these 3 types of pain have. And the first is that they are all physical. The pain is coming from a physical source. And the second similarity is that they are all helpful. This pain is valuable, useful information. It tells you something that you need to know so you can adapt and change your behavior. Pain is not a bad thing. It's part of our necessary survival toolkit. If we didn't have pain, we'd be running around on broken bones, cutting ourselves, causing ourselves all sorts of injuries. Pain helps us to survive. Now, as I said, there are 4 types of pain, and I've only described 3. So the 4th and final type of pain is pain that's coming from our nervous system. This is something that we're going to call neuroplastic pain. This is pain that's being generated by our brain and nervous system, but being felt and experienced in a perfectly healthy part of the body. The technical definition of neuroplastic pain is when the brain is misinterpreting a safe signal from the body and thinks that there is a threat of danger. Essentially, this is a miscommunication between the brain and the body. The body is sending signals up to the brain, just as it does every single second, and the brain is misinterpreting one of those signals. The nervous system believes that because this incoming message indicates a threat, it has to warn us. It has to sound the alarm, and that alarm is pain. The difference between this type of pain and the others I described is that this pain is not coming from a physical source. Yes, we feel it in our physical body, but it is not caused by damage or something physically wrong. And the other key difference is that this pain is not helpful. It is not giving us useful information that's enabling us to take action and stay alive. Effectively, it is a false alarm. Now, this isn't some weird idea that is debated in science. This is proven hard fact. The brain and nervous system can and does, and has been proven over and over and over again, to create pain in a healthy part of the body. And one thing that I want to make crystal clear, this is genuine, real pain. The difference is that the reason behind that pain is not a real threat. The same as a fire alarm being caused by a fire and a false alarm, the alarm is real in both of those cases. But we have a glaring hole in our medical system where nobody has the primary job of identifying neuroplastic pain. Doctors typically are looking for the medical cause of pain. Surgeons are looking for the damage cause of pain. Physios, osteopaths, personal trainers, they're looking for the mechanical cause of pain. They're looking for the type of pain that correlates with the treatment that they can offer you, or the test that they can offer you. Nobody is looking at the nervous system. And think about all of the questions that any of those specialists have asked you about your pain. Have they asked you about the role that stress plays? Have they asked you if it moves around? Have they asked you if it's unpredictable, if it goes away or disappears or decreases when you're having fun? Have they asked you about the role that alcohol or a small amount of alcohol plays on your pain? Have they asked you what was happening at the time when your symptoms first appeared? Have they asked you other questions to understand how your nervous system is functioning? Questions about headaches, about jaw pain or tension, questions about how often you might urinate, any of these things that are deeply tied into the way our nervous system functions. I guarantee you that 99% of people in chronic pain have not been asked these key questions because our whole system has a blind spot. Now, this presents a bigger problem than you can ever imagine, and that is all to do with the reason that neuroplastic pain begins in the first place. Why does our brain misinterpret these signals? Why does the brain have this miscommunication where it thinks something is wrong and accidentally activates pain? The reason behind that is very, very simple. Fear. Fear is the reason why our brain and nervous system will misinterpret something and accidentally activate pain, real pain, in a perfectly healthy part of the body. In a psychology context, fear is not simply being scared or afraid of something. Fear is anything that makes our system feel like there's something wrong, like there is some form of danger or threat around us. So types of fear that we can feel would be frustration, comparing ourselves to others, worry, guilt, self-criticism, thinking about all the things that we might not be able to do, anger, irritation, and the list goes on and on and on. But just stop for a moment and think, how do you feel when you go from the physio to the doctor to a blood test to an MRI and round this cycle with no one giving you any answers? It's terrifying. It's scary. It's frustrating. It's so demanding physically, emotionally, financially. It has such an impact on your nervous system. And if the pain is coming from your nervous system, that entire process is only going to make the pain worse. So not only is our system designed in a way that completely overlooks this type of pain, in doing so, it actively makes it worse for the people that are experiencing it. And I know that it can be difficult to get your head around how is this fear driving the pain. So I want to give you a visual example to illustrate it. Imagine sitting on your sofa watching a comedy, a feel-good movie that you are enjoying, relaxed, completely chill with. And during this movie, someone knocks on the door. How would you react? You might turn your head, calmly stand up, and walk towards the door to answer it. Now, imagine you're sitting on the sofa watching a horror movie. And if you're anything like me, you are super tense, you're probably cuddling the nearest cushion for comfort. Every muscle is braced, waiting for that thing that's going to pop up and make you jump. In that stressed, fear state, that same thing happens. Someone knocks on the door. But how do you react this time? If you're anything like me, you'd jump. Your eyes would dart to the door. You'd brace for impact. It's the exact same sensation, the same trigger, but you've reacted completely differently. The state that your nervous system is in, this fear state, has caused you to overreact. It's in a protective state, and it's misinterpreted that perfectly harmless sensation as a potential threat. And it's wired to protect you, so it mobilizes you. It causes you to respond. And this is exactly what happens in the body. A completely normal sensation may be happening. A muscle might be engaging. A muscle might be stretching. A bone is being put under some force. A ligament might be being pulled tight. Any number of things that happen all the way through our body millions and millions of times a day. But the state in which your nervous system is like me watching that horror movie. And in that split second, it's misinterpreted that knock at the door for a threat. It's misinterpreted that muscle stretching for something dangerous, and it's activated a pain signal. So if we were to try and reverse engineer this process, we can build a very clear and simple mathematical formula for neuroplastic pain. And that is neuroplastic pain equals a sensation times fear. A perfectly normal sensation is being amplified by fear in the nervous system, and that is resulting in pain. And this is where so many people get it wrong when it comes to treatment. And this is one of the biggest lessons that I try and teach all of my clients early on in our one-to-one program. The goal of treatment is not to directly eliminate pain. Let me repeat that again. The goal of treatment is not to directly eliminate pain. In this equation, pain is an outcome. It is being caused by the other two things. We cannot directly control the pain. The only thing we can directly control is the fear and the sensation. And if the sensation is normal, if it's healthy, then there's nothing there that we need to change. The only thing in this equation that we can change is fear. And if we bring fear down to zero, anything times by zero is zero. A normal sensation times by zero fear will be zero pain. So yes, we are obviously trying to eliminate pain, but we're doing it indirectly. We are doing it by focusing our attention on the fear. If we eliminate the fear, we will eliminate the pain. Now, there is one unspoken fear that we all as human beings deal with, and that is a fear of the unknown. Our brain finds it deeply, deeply unsettling. I believe it's the reason why we have things like superstitions. We hate the idea of something terrible happening to us randomly. So to try and make sense of it, we invent a cause for that bad thing to happen. We know that it's, for the most part, pretty silly and it doesn't really make any sense, but we find it comforting. It takes away this fear of the unknown and gives us back a sense of control. So one of the number one things that we can do to try and overcome this fear of the unknown and regain some control, regain some comfort, and start bringing that fear down immediately is to understand the science of neuroplastic pain. And that is why that is the very first thing that I do with all of my clients, and it was the first step in a process that was developed by a group of neuroscientists. I'm going to leave another video just up here that will walk you through that process that they found eliminated neuroplastic pain better than any other treatment, and that process is called pain reprocessing therapy. I'll walk you through it up here and show you exactly what I do in my program with all of my clients. But just as a little bit of a recap, the very first thing we want to do when someone has pain is identify the type of pain that they have. Is it medical? Is it damage? Is it mechanical? Or is it in the nervous system? We need to make sure that we're open to all of the possibilities. And I am absolutely not saying that all pain, all chronic pain is coming from the nervous system. What I am saying is that all pain has a reason. And the very first thing we need to do to fix it is identify that reason. So many people go off into treatment, spending so much money trying to solve a problem that they haven't fully understood. They don't know where exactly that pain is coming from, yet they're doing exercises, having injections, they're throwing treatments at the problem. Maybe I'm describing you. That is an incredibly long, tiring, and expensive journey. So if the treatments that you've been doing haven't worked, the best thing we can do is take a step back and ask this very simple question. Are we treating the right type of pain? Do we know where it's coming from? And to help you understand if it is coming from your nervous system, you can take my free chronic pain quiz, which I'll leave a link to in the description below. I hope you found that helpful, and I'll see you in the next one.